so you'll leave before you
They
go.
doing pretty good. We need to get an update. That's what we need to do. An eating tour. Let's talk to the chairman about that.
What are we doing?
You heard him, chair? February or something.
I'm gonna sit by the chair if I can learn how to be the chair.
That's right.
And I'd rather go down there.
Well, it's 1:30. We're gonna kick off. Y'all ready? All right, everybody. It's 1:30. Is the mic on? Is the mic on? Is it working? We want to thank y'all for coming out today. We've got a number of committee members as well as our commissioner over in appropriations, so he may have a little something he's interested about going on over that way. So I completely understand that, and hopefully he can come back at the end. Before we get going, I'm going to ask Representative Donahue if he will open us with a word of prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and thank you for your blessings. We just pray, Heavenly Father, you be with our families as we're away, protect and watch over them. We just pray for open minds to understand what we hear and do what's right for the state of Georgia and the people here. All these things we pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. We always look forward to this first meeting of the year to see what's going on in our department over the last year, and we're looking forward to hearing that update. And we've got a lot of firsts this year, so that's one of the big points of this meeting was to let everybody get introduced so everybody on the committee knows who they need to go to and who they need to talk to. But I just want to start out by saying that we have had and we still have, in my opinion, the best staff here in the state of Georgia Fire Department, and that's a resource. And I just want to thank each and every one of y'all for what y'all do every day for the citizens of the state of Georgia. I want to say that. So with that, I was going to let the new commissioner introduce himself, but I guess we go to the ex-colonel, new deputy commissioner, and let him say a word to get this going. What number mic is that? Does that work? Does that work? Yes, sir. No, that's not one. Hold on. What about that?
There we go.
Okay.
How about that? Well, they're all one, right? Maybe it's a 7. I don't have my glasses on. I don't know. But anyway, no. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Deputy Commissioner Thomas Bernard once was a colonel for the Law Enforcement Division, and I was kind of set to retire, I thought, and then our new commissioner, Walter Rabin, right now, he's across the road with our budget and subcommittee, so he's going through that. He asked me to step over here and get us cranked off, but we do have new faces and new seats, and they'll be coming up today presenting on each division and what they're doing across the state. And I'll tell you what, you said it earlier, the men and women of this department just do great work each and every day. They go to work with that servant's heart. What can we do for the citizens and visitors of this state? And I think COVID, back just a couple of years ago, it's funny how sometimes we forget, right, how things were. They stayed open the entire time, providing those outdoor opportunities for our folks. And they forged through it and made it through there. And I tell you, we never had anybody, never lost an employee at all during that time, and even though they were front-facing. And I think that says a lot about the leadership that we have in place, and also the type of people that we're hiring. And it's just a great job and a great place to be. And that's why I decided to stay on for a little bit longer. Walter talked me into it, but I walked away and thought, what just happened? But anyway, I said I would. And so great to be here. And with that, I won't take any more of your time, and I'm going to pitch it off to our Coastal Resources Division.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. My name is Doug Haymans. I'm the director for the Coastal Resources Division. We are located in Brunswick, Georgia. I'm not a new seat. I have been in this role starting my 7th year and a valued, hopefully, team member of DNR for 23. I'm a coastal Georgia boy raised in Richmond Hill. If you ever get that way, that's where I'm from. I see a lot of faces here that I know, and I hope the ones that I don't know, we can be friends very shortly. So I'm going to give you 5 slides, 4 minutes on coastal resources. First of all, our mission statement's to balance coastal development and the preservation of our coast, right? Our slogan is small but complicated because aside from EPD, we do a lot of permitting and regulatory work on the coast. We'll talk just briefly about that in a second, but it oftentimes gets complicated. Our jurisdictional area is the 11 coastal counties. So if you think about the rest of DNR, my sister brother divisions having 6 regions, I've got 1, from Savannah to St. Mary's, 368,000 acres of salt marsh. You see the numbers there for yourself. It's a becoming more and more of a Atlanta on the coast as more of Atlanta moves to the coast, both Savannah, Brunswick, St. Simons, and those places, and those all present a lot of challenges. Our authorities come through Title 27, Game and Fish Code, and in particular for us, 27.4 through 1 through about 130 or 150, I guess, and that's marine fisheries, right? The Coastal Management Program and the Coastal Management Act, which is Title 12, allows us to do a lot of our grant work with other recipients outside of the state. I'll show you some of the things it allows us to do in a moment. And then the Coastal Marshlands Protection and Shore Protection Act, which is how we regulate things in the marsh and on the beaches, as well as through the Revocable License Authority. This is a brief look at how we're broken down. I said we're small. We're 68 employees, so we are roughly the size of DNR administration here in Atlanta. On a given year, I've got a dozen or so hourlies that are working with us. We're broken into 3 main units. Carl Burgess is my assistant director and handles all of my admin and back-end functions. Jill Andrews, who is in the back row here, Jill, raise your hand, is my chief of coastal management and handles all things regulatory and others that we'll talk about in a moment. And then Dr. Carolyn Belcher is chief of fisheries. We're going to talk briefly about each of those programs as we move forward here. Starting with marine fisheries, the things that you may be familiar with, we manage on your behalf, we manage our shrimp and crab industries and opening and closing of seasons through our ecological monitoring trawl surveys. We manage a lot of our fisheries, things like redfish and trout and others through our marine sportfish population health surveys. Coastal longline for adult red drum. We work with anglers through the carcass recovery program where they turn in the carcasses that they've caught. We also do dockside interviews asking things about what you caught and how long you spent to catch that and can we measure and see the catch. We use all of those things together to help manage those fishery populations over time. We also are actively involved in habitat creation and enhancement. The catchphrase these days is oyster restoration, so we're competing with all the other states out there to buy and recycle oyster shell to create and build oyster reefs. We've got 15 inshore reefs, and as it says there, 31 offshore reefs. And the most recent addition, we call it the end of the line, December 31st, we put 2 Marta cars offshore of Savannah in about 65 feet of water. We're pretty pleased with that. We also acknowledge that fish don't adhere to political boundaries, so we work with other state and federal partners, the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission and the South Atlantic Fishery Management Council, to manage our fisheries cooperatively across lines. Jill's program, Coastal Management, is broken into 4 main units. When we look at that coastal and ocean management, we work with communities to develop low-impact development or to plan for sea level rise, things of that nature. We work with them with disaster resiliency, such that as to one, be resilient to disaster, but 2, when it comes through, how do you recuperate from that? We are the first state in the nation to have all of our coastal counties with a DRRP plan for disasters. Let me just jump down to the bottom corner there, marsh and shore management. Again, we issue permits for if you're going to build a crosswalk over the dunes, if you're going to build a dock or a marina, we issue a permit for that through the Coastal Marshlands Protection Act or through revocable licenses. When we do that, we also have to have compliance and enforcement because not everybody plays by the rules. So that's those 2 pieces. And then sort of the odd duck in this equation is the shellfish and water quality. Because of some funding streams, that program falls under coastal management. Water quality, we manage our swimming beaches across the coast. We measure water quality in those on a weekly basis. And working with the local health departments, we post when those areas pop hot for certain bacteria. But also, shellfish is involved in that. And if you'll remember a few years ago, House Bill 501, thank you, Representative Petrie, we were able to push through some new aquaculture regulations allowing that to occur in the state of Georgia. Georgia has permitted 6 growers in 2 areas. 5 of those growers have all of their permits. 1 of those growers actively has cages in the water, and they have harvested their first oysters this past month of December. So we're beginning to see aquaculture come online. And my last thought, as soon as I'm able to get some samples, I'll get you some samples.
We'll be down soon.
All right. And I promise to try to keep this brief. So my last slide then is a simple funding slide. It's important to realize that we are only 30% funded by the state. 70% of what we do comes from about 23 different federal and other grants as well. So we're very reliant on National Marine Fisheries Service, NOAA, EPA, and others for the work that we do on the coast. So with that, happy to take a brief question or two, and then I'll yield.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Y'all do a great job down there.
Thank you.
Next time I come, I just want to take one of those boats out.
Come on.
Do we have any questions? What Mike? What number, Roger? Okay. All right. There you go.
To what extent do you guys get involved in things outside of the coast, or is that another department? Because you got lakes and things all over the place and rivers, and that's a different department.
You go hear from Ted. It's a different division.
Okay.
Same department,
I'll ask
different
him the
division.
question then when he comes up.
Very good.
You hit the button. It's not working. Grab another one.
I've been hitting this button a long time, so I knew I was hitting the right one. But thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks, Doug,
Yes, sir.
for all you do. I was just thinking while you were sitting there, the 2 longest-serving members of this committee is Roger Bruce and I. This is our 21st year on game, fishing, parks. I was secretary when I got here as a freshman. Bob Lean was the chairman, and you had been a new hire of a couple of years. I've watched a lot of folk come through the coastal, none better than you. You've done a
Thank
great
you, sir.
job.
I appreciate that, Todd.
Great job. Hey, I said it for Doug. I went for Doug. Yeah.
The commissioner did hear that.
Yeah, and we want a Mercedes Sprint to take me and Representative Corbett down
All right, I'm
to
gonna-
look at the progress
I'm gonna cut that mic off.
of the aqua auctions. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Representative Williams. I was very rude and didn't do one thing. Hold on one second before we get there. I want to thank Chairman Dickey and I have new staff in our office, and for the real ladies that make these things happen, Grace Finney and Natasha Pitak Wash, thank y'all for everything y'all do. Yeah. And Patrick Monk as well. We thank them for getting everything together and getting our meeting going. Now, we were going on to Colonel. Does the commissioner, do you want to? You gonna come in at the end. All right, Colonel, floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, here again, I'm a new person in a new seat, but been around for a while. My
A familiar
34 years
face.
and 22 years dealing with legislation, so I was here when we first started game and fish. That's right, it's unforgettable. But a lot of things, nothing's really new for DNR as far as a chore, job relations and things, but you can look our mission vision. For us, we're the oldest law enforcement agency in the state, founded in 1911. Our core missions have always been hunting, fishing, boating, environmental, and the commercial stuff. So to answer your question, we patrol offshore and all the inland waterways around the state. We've had a lot of things change over the years with public safety and dealing with riots and different protest events from our department helping out around the state, from Savannah all the way through Atlanta and different cities on mission critical things for public safety in the governor's office. We are divided up into 6 different regions. That's broken down there around the state. Our division goals are still the same: conservation, law enforcement for hunting, fishing, and boating, education, marketing, and community involvement, and then training, recruitment, and retention. That bottom bullet there, that goal is always continuing to change. And as people change, things change, the job changes, it's harder to recruit and retain some of these folks in today's time. And so I'll go over a few changes and things that we're doing to try to resolve that. Currently today, we have 190 game wardens around the state that are in the field and working. We have 18 new hires that are at the academy today. We started with 22. We had 3 back out the very first day. They decided that they were not physically or mentally prepared to carry a gun and be an enforcement officer in the state. So they decided to leave, which is fine. After the Game Warden Academy, we should be up around 208, but an important figure there is in 2001, we had 251 game wardens around the state. That was our highest number for officers in the state, and that was around 2001. And since that time, due to budget cuts and different things for us, whenever a cut comes, our cut is only for personnel, so we've always had to cut personnel. We are slowly building that back up, and as you can see there, we're coming up to 208. And we have other things that are been introduced in the amended budget and the FY budget. Vacant counties around the state. If you look at the lower part of the state, a lot of times it's hard for us to get people to stay in some of these rural counties unless they're from there. We're trying to do a better job on recruiting applicants and game wardens, people for this particular job from those areas, visiting different colleges and things. But just to give you an idea there that, like I said, we started with 22 applicants. We assign them to those areas, like Charlton County down there at the very bottom. We put somebody down around Okefenokee Swamp and Fargo, but if they're not from there, they don't want to stay there, and so they'll move back. But it's just finding the right. It's finding the person with the right niche. Yeah, we have, well, there's state parks there. There's lots of hunting, fishing there, the Okefenokee Swamp. There's a lot of activity. Believe it or not, I mean, we have a lot of activity in Fulton County. It's just not a typical large area that people look for hunting, but there are a lot of wildlife violations that go on with illegal sale of wildlife and transportation, turtles in and out of the Atlanta airport. I mean, you name it. We deal with everything related to wildlife, anything that's illegal. But yes, we're targeting more in those areas where we need to try to keep people in some of these rural counties in South Georgia. So we created what we call the ADAPT program, the Accelerated Degree Advancement Promotional Track. And for us, for the last 20-something years, we've required an associate's degree or college hours in order to apply for this job. And so we have changed that back January 1 to where an applicant can apply with a high school diploma or a GED for this job. And then working with some of the technical colleges and local colleges, they will give them 40 credit hours once they complete the Game Warden Academy towards their criminal justice degree or an associate's degree. And then we're helping those folks, not monetarily, but we're helping them work-wise to obtain their degree, associate's degree or bachelor's degree, whichever they want to pursue, with night classes and taking classes, during the day and different things. But a lot of these colleges are working with us to give them credit hours for that. You can look there below the picture. In one day when we posted that, we reached 500,000 folks on Facebook. It's a very popular. I mean, a lot of people want to be a game warden, but a lot of people don't have the opportunity to go to college, and so this outreach is basically just to cast a wider net to get more people in. There are people that already have a job, a family, and kids that don't want to necessarily take the time to go back to school to obtain this job, but now they can get this job work and then slowly work towards getting that degree. But they would have to obtain that associate's degree in order to compete for a supervisory position, corporal and higher within our department. Any questions for law enforcement?
You rushed by your picture there. It is what it is.
It is.
Hey, Colonel.
Back up if you want to see it. There you
Come
go.
on, Colonel.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
boy. That's a young picture, that Colonel.
Move it now.
I didn't know if you needed a picture.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you too, Colonel, for all y'all do. But I guess I'm one of those ones that How many vacancies do you all have? I mean, just a
Yeah,
question.
so right now we have about 30 vacant counties, but we don't have funding for all those counties, and we have around 19 positions that we're trying to fill. And we've
Okay.
got, we're trying,
Just,
with
just want to say, when we
retirements-
passed HB 208 in 2018, didn't we have 59 counties that did not have a game warden? We're working on it, but
That's
we're
right.
not back there yet. So,
Okay, I just, I mean, I'm new too. I've only been in a couple of years. I just want to make sure I know. And I think my last question is, so what is the starting pay?
So today the starting pay is 52,000, but with the budgets, everything goes through the way if everything's approved the way the governor presented it at the State of the State, the starting pay would go up to 58.
Yeah, I was doing it for Chairman Corbett. Him and I was talking about the 22,000 we get. So
Y'all over me.
all right, next
you.
question.
All right.
Chairman Corbett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Colonel, for the presentation, and Deputy Commissioner Bernard. He's aware of this issue that Chairman Rhodes and I have had over the years with former legislators sending us harassing pictures of them out there, being able to hunt and fish while we're in session.
Mm-hmm.
So if we pass a bill, we need it strictly enforced that they cannot do
We need
any
some arrests made.
Yes, we need them stopped.
We have the Ranger hotline, so you send that information in, and we'll pass that on to the officer in the field.
All right. Chairman Petrie.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Colonel, so you mentioned that, so the high water mark was 251, okay,
Yes, sir.
in number. What was the low mark? I know you're at 190 day. What was the low mark?
I think the lowest for us, we were around, it was 175.
175.
just
So we've grown from
recollection,
175 to
yes.
190.
Mhm.
Thank you, Colonel.
All right. Anybody else have any questions? Well, we just want to say thank you, and we look forward to working with you, and you being our new colonel.
All right.
Thank you. Mr. Wills.
He's not speaking for the committee.
Mr. Director, why don't you go ahead, Mr. Director?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have been here for a couple of years. It feels like I've only been here for a day, but it's good to be here, and I'm going to go very fast, high level, just to give y'all a feeling for what our division touches on every year. We have wildlife management areas, over 133 of those, million-plus acres, 11 public fishing areas across the state, 130 lakes on those, 800,000 visitors on those, 10 fish hatcheries. Some of you are interested in that. 9 million plus fish stock, producing stock each year, 168 boat ramps we built, renovate, operate in the state, 46 public shooting ranges, 7 educational centers, management activities on public reservoirs. We're sport fish populations. We want people to catch fish. We're out there on reservoirs and rivers, and we also assist the private landowner. We're working with on over 340,000 acres of private lands now. Real proud of that as well. So again, when you think about our mission, it's conserving wildlife. We also promote hunting and fishing. That's the bread and butter, and other wildlife related recreation. We do that through 3 primary things, and that's management, on the ground, boots on the ground management, research and surveys, and education. Real quick, I'll just give you a brief overview with pictures of what kind of the breadth of those activities. But on the ground management, we're burning 75,000 acres each year. We got plows and seed going down on 3,000 acres of dove field, over 10,000 acres of food plots. We have 2,000 miles of roads where we're doing operation repairs and maintenance. We're out in hatcheries producing and stocking over 1,000 trout and 8 million other different fish throughout the state. We have, again, a team building boat ramps, renovating boat ramps throughout the state. We are actively involved when the state is going through a crisis with debris or whatever it may be. We have teams clearing roadways. So we're proud of that, and also we're responding to your customers out there who have issues at home with wildlife. So we got people that go out and help them with deer, raccoon, whatever that might be. So again, just a lot of operations ongoing throughout the state. Research and surveys. Our state's blessed. I've shared this before, over 3,000 different plant and animal species in the state. We're honored to have that privilege to manage and research and make sure that you and your children and grandchildren all have the opportunity to appreciate all those different species, from bats to eagles, from, you know, pitcher plants, Representative Petrie, to largemouth bass, you know, you name it, all this variety, from gopher tortoises on the upland to terrapins and sea turtles on the coast. That's all under our purview. It's a great responsibility. We're honored to have that, and but there's a lot happening from a research and survey side just to make sure we know what's out there and how they're doing. So that's the field from that perspective. Education, obviously we need to be out there working with our youth, teaching them the value of conservation, what we do on the ground. We need to be teaching them the value of hunting and fishing and what that means and how to do it. So we're proud of those efforts, and we're also proud of our efforts on what we do to teach our own staff and educate them and make sure they can do their job better through training. So that's kind of the big three pillars when you think about what we do across the state. And why do we do it all? In the end, it's for our customers. Over 1 million anglers in your state, 800,000 hunters, 7 million plus just enjoy watching wildlife, 1.6 million target shooters now, big sport, growing sport. Recent survey came out this year. Now, I know you've heard these numbers before. They've grown. It's $5.2 billion in direct expenditures for hunters and anglers now. That's $14 million plus a day. It's big business. It's important. Just not only what we're leaving for the legacy for our children and grandchildren, but what it's doing to generate revenue in the state. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to yield time to our Parks Director so we can get out of here on time.
Will you touch just one thing? Because I know we're approaching burning season, and I know my phone starts lighting up. And just touch some where the other members know. You and I've talked a lot about, especially when it's late burning on some of our properties that we don't own but lease, that we can't control that. Would you just tell the committee that? So
again, we're part of that 1 million acres it is a lot of the national forests, Coney National Forest, and of course up Chattahoochee National Forest. We're not allowed to burn on those properties. You know, that's
or take timber.
They drive it. We can't drive the size of the burn, or generally we can't drive their manpower and tell them when they need to burn. So there are larger blocks. They're burning them hot. They don't thin. You know, they got challenges with getting wood out too. So they do thermal thinning. They run a big hot fire to get some wildlife openings, which, you know, I get it, but so that's a challenge. So yeah, when you're in and around the areas of Cedar Creek or Redlands or that have our wildlife management area sign on it, and I get it, I'm getting the calls too, Mr. Chairman. But that is a challenge for us. We're working through them. We're trying to figure out what we can do in that regard into the future. And if, you know, if we need to, you know, again, unless we can drive it, it's hard for us to.
But I just wanted you to give an answer so they'll have an answer.
Yep.
So one question, Representative Donahue.
Thank you. Couple little questions. You missed the farm when y'all were doing the food plots. I noticed my farm didn't get handled there. The bass, what did it weigh and where was it when it was released? I want to know that. But then I'm going to brag in a minute. But trout, we had a sickness, was it 2 years ago, where we had a lot of trout that we lost and had to dispose of. Did that come back to where we figured it out and we've moved forward?
We're back and stronger. Quick, just need to respond quickly there. We're back and stronger and better because of it now.
Thank you, thank you. And one last one, I told you I was going to brag. I've bird hunted 45 years, and this past Saturday on live quail, that were wild quail, not the ones that you pick up and hold and then throw it up and shoot. Actually, I shot 3 with one shot, so I wanted this guy, the chairman, to hear that. And I'll never do
that.
I do, and I'll never do that again, but I had to brag on that because guess what, I'll be gone before that'll happen again.
I was going to say, I hope they win the air. Representative Petrie. Representative Petrie.
Yeah, Director. Director, I had a couple of questions for you real quick. First of all, thank you for all the burning we do. There's nothing more important we can do for wildlife management. Glad we're doing that here. Couple of questions. So we've got 46 ranges, mine at Richmond Hill WMA gets enormous use, which is fantastic. Are we building more?
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about that, because that's so important that we do that now, because what happens with population growth, we need to build them now. It's hard to build them later when the population explodes in a certain area. And then I want to also ask you real quick, Dan, to speak about turkey population on the rebound since we changed the limit.
Real quick, yeah, we're looking for every opportunity to and work with partners to expand our shooting range projects and expand what we're doing on the ground, our existing shooting range. So, I mean, you're fortunate to be 3 of the top 3 that we have in the state. We got others that needs improvement there. Turkey populations, again, depending on the area of the state, we're seeing some positive responses. There's still a lot of knowledge. It's going to be similar to quail. It's a 3-tiered. It's habitat, it's predator control, and then regulatory. You know, we're reducing harvest, and we have seen some benefit and value to that. But
that's what I'm curious.
It's all of it together. Lots to dig into that question.
I can
Thank
tell
you for the great work y'all
Yep.
do.
in my areas, I'm seeing population increase. Representative Bruce, one more, last question.
Yeah, first, I want to go on the record that I don't agree with him. You were great in your job. Okay. And I wanted to ask a question about the lakes, because I get a lot of requests from people. There's a lot of lakes in my area, and I don't know where all these lakes came from. I think people just dug a hole and lakes show up. But is there a process for getting help with those lakes? Because what seems to be happening with the rain that we've been getting, all kinds of stuff ends up in these lakes, and the fish are floating to the top. And so I'm trying to figure out how to get help for these folks.
If it's private, it's not us. We made a decision collectively here that private can be handled through private industry for that management. If it's public, let us know. We're working through the Gateway to Fishing program to do a lot in the urban area, and we do have your catfish ready for this year so we don't have to get into that one either.
Well, let me just say
He already
thank you.
knew what he wanted.
Let me just say thank you. It's
Yep.
the Saturday after Mother's Day.
Yep.
And I hope that you guys will continue to work with me after I retire from
Oh.
here, because I've raised
Oh, it's a
enough
great
money
event.
for
We're
that to
excited
keep
for it.
going.
Yep.
Okay.
You won't see it.
No.
Yes, you will.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Great job. We thank you for all that you do. How are you? Floor
Good
is
afternoon,
yours.
Chairman. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you and the committee. I've met a few of the members, and I look forward to working with you and getting to know you better. I know Ms. Bird. But I just want to provide just an overview this afternoon for you about the Parks Division and a little bit of an update as well. Of course, our mission is to protect our state's beauty and natural beauty and historic integrity while providing opportunities for public enjoyment and education. Just a quick overview. You do have a fact sheet, I believe, in your material about the park system, but we have a very diverse park system, one of the most diverse in the country. We have 48 parks, 15 historic sites, 8 golf courses, 2 historic welcome centers, 3 lodges, and an excursion train. We have more than 900 miles of trails, including hiking, biking, and equestrian trails. And we have over 14 million visitors per year, and with the economic impact of $1.6 billion and over 10,000 jobs supported in the state, contribute to the economic impact of the state. So we're very proud of that. The types and varieties of accommodations throughout the state are also diverse. We have 427 cottages at 37 parks in a variety of styles and many that are dog friendly. There are 2,600 campsites in 45 parks, some of which are paddle-in, walk-in, or backcountry. We also have yurts, group camps, and 3 modern lodges. We are the caretaker of some of Georgia's most significant historic sites. There are 15 historic sites, and their importance to Georgians cannot be understated. Our historic sites include recognizing the earliest residents of Georgia and the impact that they make on the landscape, including Kolomoki Mounds and Etowah Indian Mounds. Also, Fort King George, Wormslow, and Fort Morris have preserved some of our first locations that European settlers began to form the 13th colony, marking the birth of our nation. Also, our sites preserve solemn moments in history, such as the impacts of the Trail of Tears at New Echota, Our state historic sites also celebrate important moments that put Georgia on the map, such as the nation's first gold rush at the Dahlonega Gold Museum and the legacy that FDR left at the Little White House. The greatest challenge we have is our aging facilities, as well as our staffing challenges, including recruitment, retention, and succession. However, with the Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Program, funds from bonds, and through generous support from the legislature, we've been able to fund some of our aging facilities and infrastructures over the last several years, and you'll see some of those on the screen there. But new cottages at Fort Yargo and Chattahoochee Bend, a new visitor center at Skidaway, Skidaway Island, Amicalola, and Wormslow most recently, as well as renovations to historic structures at the H. Stevens Fire Tower, campground renovations at Vogel, Indian Springs, H. Stevens, and F.D. Roosevelt, and trail improvements such as accessible trail at High Falls State Park. With 66 sites from the mountains to the coast, 14 million visitors annually, and a long list of facility repairs, there are a lot of needs. However, we will continue to operate and striving to be as self-sufficient as possible, conserving and preserving our natural and cultural resources while providing outdoor public enjoyment opportunities. Reflecting on the past decade and a half, we've come a long way. We've always been a great resource for Georgians. Our sites have become incredibly popular, and as you've heard many times, and as the Deputy Commissioner mentioned, we were a safe haven during COVID, proving state parks were essential for good physical and mental health, and since then we've just continued to increase our visitation. Park managers have driven revenue by increased occupancy and offerings while the division, with the help of the legislature and our governor, have invested in improved facilities that have generated better revenue to offset these challenges as much as possible. And while our division has worked hard to provide new ways to operate and become more efficient and sustainable, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished over the last 15 years. None of this could be possible without our greatest resource, and that is our people. We have the best. In an effort to recruit and retrain, we have developed a robust training program to invest in our staff, and another priority for the future success of the park system is succession. We're growing the next generation of park rangers through our DNR Career Academy, a park manager and training program, the Georgia Park Ranger Academy, our DNR Leadership Academy, and State Park Leadership School. This is our parks leadership team and kind of an overview of their responsibilities. And lastly, in closing, we are here to serve. We are DNR, and we appreciate your support. Be glad to entertain any questions. And I failed to introduce myself. My name's Angie Johnson. I've been with the Parks Division for 32 years. I actually started with Ted's Division in 1989 and then transferred over to Parks in 1992. And it's just an honor to speak before you today. Be glad to answer any questions.
Well, thank you, Madam Director. And I just want to say thank you. Our state parks, I think, are crown jewels of this state.
Thank you.
And we take great pride in those. Who's got a question? Chairman Corbett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you give us an update on George T. Bagby, the rebuild,
I'll be
how
glad
that's
to.
progressing?
Yes, sir. Demolition is pretty much completed. The old lodge buildings are now down. We have a new park office that we've temporarily set up. It was the old Fisherman's Cottage, if you recall, coming into the park. There was a building over to your right. We've converted that into a temporary park office while the construction work is started. But all the demo is almost completed.
And one more thing. And then I think we have some issues at Lake Blackshear.
Yes, sir.
I know we need some funding for.
A bid has just went out for the bid work has just went out for the demo of the building that was funded, I believe, last year. And then I believe there's a proposal for construction of some cottages for this coming budget cycle.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, is that Representative Williams?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your presentation. Very interesting. And Commissioner Williams and I had several vacations, several conversations over the years about your mixture, diversity of your staff. I noticed in the picture, I did see one me in the middle. He was easy to find. And are you doing anything about improving your recruitment and retention of African Americans at DNR?
I believe so, yes, sir. I feel like we were making efforts before it was a popular thing to do, quite honestly. We have some DEI efforts that we started 15 years ago, and we've been seeing the fruits of those labors over the last couple of years, so I believe so, yes, sir. We just had a promotion of African-American male, Andre McClendon. I'm so very proud of him. Worked on and off with him, and he's our Region 3 supervisor now. And so, yeah, I believe to answer your question, I could get you more information later, but I believe so, yes, sir.
I can understand that the population has shifted. And my generation took off, went to Atlanta and other urban areas. And so there's been a migration out of the rural areas by a lot of African Americans. And it's not nearly as popular overall, the hunting, the fishing. You have heard about my record catch on St. Simon. It was legendary. We'll talk about it. I don't know if this table could hold it, man. But certainly I'd like to be able to continue my conversation with you, Commissioner, and with you and Deputy Director, that we might get some ideas about, because I'd like to see some people reintroduce to the great outdoors we have here in Georgia, and some opportunities that exist. And 52,000 starting is not half bad, especially if you live in Willacoochee. But we'll talk some.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Thank you, Representative Williams. And I, too, would like to brag on Andre McClendon. He and I were in the same high school class and graduated
Is
together.
that right?
So I have been extremely proud of him, and he
Yes.
is a great.
He's
I say
A-number
young
one.
man. I say young man to kind of benefit me a little bit. But he is a good fella. Do we have any other questions? Okay, at this time, are we through with is that through with the presentation? And I guess now we can do what we were going to start the meeting off with. I want to bring up our new commissioner, and I just want to say he is not a new face, but he is in a new role, and he did a tremendous job when he was deputy, and we couldn't have a better guy leading this department. And I just want to say thank you for what you do every day.
Thank you, Mr.
And we'll
Chairman.
just let you kind of explain your new structure and how all that goes. How about that?
Well, I'll be very brief with it. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and to work with each of you in my new role. That was a good way of saying that I've been here for a long time. And thank you for saying it so politely. I will say, from the presentations you just saw, what a rock star team. And I'm fixing to introduce a
Amen.
little bit more of the team. But I'm telling you, the foundation that DNR has with the leadership and the team that just presented for you only gets better as you go down the chains of command to the people that are carrying out the missions that you see in these pictures. You don't see us sitting at a desk up there in the pictures, because that's not where it's happening. It's happening with the people that get their boots scratched up every day, so to speak. But with me today, of course, y'all have been picking on, and I appreciate y'all doing that, our new deputy commissioner, or his new role. I also have our other deputy commissioner, Trevor Santos, in the back. I've got Miss Artisha Gaston, who's the director of our administrative services.
That's the real
You
boss.
got to at least wave a little bit. Okay. All right. And then we have our grants unit supervisor, Miss Taylor Brown Fisher, that y'all are familiar with as well. And we just got through, I apologize for being tardy, just got through presenting our amended budget to Chairman Warehouser's committee, and just got the GOSA passed on the House side. So now we'll take that to the Senate and then get that out to our communities. But that's really all I've got. Happy to answer any questions. Again, look forward to working with each of you. I know we've had many conversations throughout the year, and I think everyone at the table still has my phone number. It hasn't changed, and look forward to working with each of you.
We thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Does anybody have any?
Before I yield my time, turn over the mic. Those packages in front of you were put together by some of our folks. Oh, and I forgot, she's sitting behind me. Miss Alexis Thompson is behind us. She put these packages together for you. If you'll look, there's a fact sheet for each of your districts. So they're personalized for your districts specifically. There's a free park pass in there that'll get you in any of our parks. We encourage you to go to all of our parks, but when you get there, spend a little money in the gift shop. Yes, sir.
We get overnight passes, one of those nights.
We'll get you, we can talk about that with a discount. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Al, just remember we're being recorded.
But look at your fact sheets again. I'm super proud of the fact that DNR touches every city, municipality, every county in this state in some shape, form, or fashion. So I hope that we bring that home to you throughout this package. And again, it's got all of our contact information in there. Again, you're welcome to call me anytime, but again, you just met the folks that you probably will be wanting to talk to get things done in your communities.
We thank you, Mr. Commissioner. I'm gonna let Chairman Corbett ask a question, but I also want to make mention that one of the perpetrators that we wanted to get arrested snuck in the back there, Colonel. So y'all get him before we leave. Chairman Corbett.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to bring up. That's one of the main ones we need to keep a close eye on while we're in session.
I feel better
y'all need to
sitting
keep
up
a
here.
check
I
on
was a
his
little
boat.
uncomfortable in the back and sitting behind me.
But no, I'd just like to say I've enjoyed working with you in your previous role ever since I've been here since 2015. You've been my go-to when I need something from DNR, something taken care of. I look forward to working with you in this role, and anything we can do to help you, anything's keeping you up at night that we can help you with, don't feel free to call us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'll say that, you know, how lucky is Georgia that all of us get to work together for our natural resources. It's not just DNR. We get a lot of the credit a lot of the time. It's not just a governor that's a sportsman and understands what we do, but it's a General Assembly and each of you that we can all come together with a common goal, common mission. That's to protect what we have for not just us today, but for our kids and our grandkids.
Amen. Amen. Representative McDonald.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll be loud. I want to thank you for your new role, and one of the largest assets in the district that I represent, District 26, which covers Lake Lanier. The first largest asset is our hospital. Our second is a marina called Port Royal, and I have my Port Royal family here today, back here, and they do great. The resources that they provide for recreation and just the look of that marina sitting on Lake Lanier is a great asset for the district I represent. And two, another thing I want to thank you is as you were coming on, we got rid of one of our difficult sergeants in DNR, which was Lee Brown, and I just want to thank you for retiring him out.
Yes, sir. I will be sure to pass that along.
That's his brother-in-law.
I don't have a comment
I
on
wasn't
that.
going to say it. I was going to wait for you to say it.
Representative Donahue.
Thank you. I wanted to ask one more question. Falconry, when we're hunting with different birds, I experienced that this weekend. Amazing how it is, and I've seen it 3 or 4 times. But I've been asked, what is the cost and the process license? And I just thought, well, I forgot to ask that earlier. But is that something falls under the control of like me buying a hunting license?
Could you find a more technical question to ask me in front of the committee? It is a process. You have to go through an apprenticeship. There's a training course that you have to go through with that as well.
Tons of feathers. You have to identify everything.
Down 3 different levels.
Right. Oh, it's.
Yes.
I think you need to go visit them in the office over there.
I think we need to eat oysters and go out and talk about it. I agree. But no, thank you very much. I just wanted to ask that because 3 people asked me in the last week, and then I saw this Saturday again, and it was great.
It is neat.
Thank you, Representative Dunn. Well, I just want to say thank you to the commissioner and staff, and everybody can see we have fun and we laugh, and this is a great committee, but in all seriousness, we all have the love of the outdoors for our people here in Georgia, and I just want to thank each and every one of y'all for that and sharing in that with all of us. So with that, if there's no more questions, meeting adjourned. Thank you.